Hello and welcome to today's video. Today is another installment of my Single Mingle series. I'm really loving this series and I think you guys are too. I've been getting a lot of positive feedback about it. If you are new to this series, it is just my way of cycling through my single shadow collection, getting some more use out of them, pushing my creativity. Basically, I use a random number generator to select the first 6 shades, and then I get to choose the last 3 shades to create a 9-pan palette. I am going to put up a picture on the screen now of the shade names and brands of this current palette, but if you are interested in seeing the selection process or swatches of this palette, I encourage you to go to the previous video. What is going to happen is I am going to be sharing the 5 looks that I created with this palette next, and then after that we are going to select a new palette. So let's get started. So I have moved the palette over. I will be sharing the pictures on the left side of the screen there. I am going to say that I really enjoyed this selection of colors. I thought this color story was really pretty. It was fun to play with. I really enjoyed kind of combining all the different tones. But after the 5 looks, I'm ready for a new palette. Sometimes with these, I could keep going and keep creating looks. Other times, I am ready to move on. And in this case, I think I'm ready to move on. So let's start with the first look. I really wanted to play with these 2 shades especially. I thought they would coordinate really, really nicely together. So first I went into this shade here for my transition, and then I layered the matte olive on top of that, concentrating on the outer corner. I went all over the lid with this shade here, and then I added this to the inner corner. So very simple, not a ton of shades. Sometimes I really go in and use a lot of the colors, but I was really happy with how this one looked. For the second look, I wanted to try and use this blue. If you've been following me for a while, you know blue is just that shade that I don't tend to reach for. I'm not as crazy with how blue looks on my eyes, and it always seems like there's a blue that's picked. So anyway, this round there's this metallic blue, and I wanted to see if I could figure out a way to use it. So first I went into this shade here for my transition. I deepened the outer corner with this dark purple matte, and I kind of used this as a layering foundation for this blue to make it just a little less blue. So when I layered this blue over the purple, it just toned it down a bit and made it more of a blurple color, which I do like. So yeah, that's why the look looks more purple than blue. But I layered this over the outer corner there. I went all over the lid with this kind of mint color, and then I used this shade here for the inner corner. For my third look, I really wanted to go in with the purple. So this kind of row here, I just thought was going to create a really pretty look, and I wanted to combine it with the mint just kind of as a contrast. So that is what I did. So again, I started my look with this shade here. This is just a really nice, cool toned purple transition shade, especially if you have a lighter skin tone like I do. I really enjoyed working with this. So again, I used this as my transition shade. I deepened the outer corner with this shade here. I went all over the lid with this shade here. I topped it with this shade more towards the inner portion of the eyelid, and then I used the mint as my inner corner shade. For the fourth look, I wanted to try using this shade here. I picked it as a deepening shade, but I hadn't really been reaching for it, so I wanted to bring that in. So again, I started with this shade here as my transition. I used this just to deepen the very, very outer corner. I went all over the lid with this shade here, and then I used this shade here for the inner corner. So very simple. I really like a really bright metallic lid. I just find that to be more flattering on me than a darker lid. So overall, I was really happy with how this look turned out. Finally, for the fifth look, I wanted to go back into those greens and create more of a green look. So I went back to this olive as my transition shade. I used this shade here to deepen the outer corner. I went all over the lid. I think I actually layered this on the lid as well, but then I went all over that with this mint shade here. I used this shade here for the inner corner, and then I did bring in a little bit of this above my transition. It's a little bit more mauve going up towards my brow bone. You may notice that it's a little bit more mauve. I actually found that these 2 shades, you wouldn't think that they would blend well or combine well, but I really like how those 2 shades looked together. So there's a few looks where I kind of used those in tandem as my transition shades, and after I kind of completed the base green look here, I did go into this one a little bit, just in the upper transition area. So again, I was trying to create a more focused green look, and I was very happy with this one as well. So my overall thoughts about this palette, I have no complaints about any of these shades. They worked really well for me. As I just mentioned, I found that the combination of these two ended up working out really, really well. I really enjoyed combining those two. No complaints about the Looksy shades. They are one of my favorite metallic formulas. This one is one of my favorite shades from Coastal Scents as well. So in terms of quality, I had a really good time with this palette. I enjoyed it very much. But I am ready to move on. So I'm going to be getting my number generator ready, putting up a picture of the shadows that I'm going to be selecting from, and I'm going to be doing something new for this round. Okay, so I've got my random number generator set up, and if you've been following this series, you may notice that the numbers are just a little bit different. I am so excited. I'm going to be pulling from a different board for this round. If you watched one of my recent videos, I kind of created some magnetic boards for both my round single shadows and then a new one for my square single shadows, and that's the one I'm going to be using. So I'm going to pop up a picture right now of that board. It's a combination of shadows from Menagerie Cosmetics, Lethal Cosmetics, as well as Adept, and those are what I'm going to be pulling from. So I have 51 shadows on that board. I'm going to be picking 6 shades randomly, and then as usual I will be picking out 3 shades to go along with that. So let's see which shades we get. Okay, so there we go. Those are the 6 numbers. You will be able to follow along on the screen there and see which shades I will be pulling. I'm going to take a moment and go try and find those, and I will come back and we'll see what we have. So here is what we have so far, and this is kind of interesting. Until this one was pulled, it was kind of going in a very green direction. So I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to have to think about what 3 shades I want to bring in. If I want to keep it kind of a monochromatic green color story, or if I want to bring in some other shades. I usually like to combine kind of warm tones and cool tones, but I need to think what shade complements green really well, that I can mix and still make some cohesive look. So this is going to take a minute because green is not something I typically reach for. So let me think, and I will be back in just a moment. Okay, I'm back, and here are my 3 selections. I think I'm 99% sure this is the direction I want to go. It is going in more of a kind of monochromatic direction. I would love to know down in the comments which 3 shades you would have chosen to go with those first 6 shades. So next I'm going to be swatching these shadows so you can get a feel for what kind of color, what kind of tones they are. So if you are interested in playing along with this color story, you can look through your collection and find some similar shades. So let's get going with those swatches. Okay, so I am going to start with that top row there. Here are the finger swatches. This one here is D14 from Adept Cosmetics. We have a Myth or Legend from Menagerie, and then Fenris from Menagerie. Here they are blended out on the hand. You can see that the one from Adept is it's a silver. I would consider this a topper. It's basically a silver-based glitter topper. The Myth or Legend one in the center there is kind of a mid-tone matte teal, and then Fenris on the end there is just a matte olive green. So now on to the next row. Here are the finger swatches. We've got Iceworm from Menagerie Cosmetics. We have Fluke from Menagerie Cosmetics. And then we have S31 from Adept Cosmetics. And on the hand here, you can see Iceworm is just a matte mid-tone kind of minty green shade. Fluke is, it's a very metallic light green, more on the kind of yellow-green side. And then finally we have the S31 from Adept, and it's a kind of a deeper, I would describe it as a deeper kind of rose gold shade. And now for the final row. Here we have Lucky from Menagerie Cosmetics, we have D17 from Adept, and D6 from Adept. You can see that Lucky is a metallic, it's almost like a metallic champagne, but it has a very strong pink shift. D17 is your warm based metallic with a greeny gold shift, and then D6 is your classic kind of blue-brown duochrome there. So now that I have swatched all the shadows, I'm going to pop them into my little palette and we are going to discuss. So here we have the final palette. You guys are going to have to let me know what you think about this one. What combinations would you do with this? I'll be curious to know. I did not see this going in a green direction, but here we are. And like I've mentioned, green is not something that I reach for all the time. So this is going to be fun to play with, I think. I think this is going to kind of push me a little bit out of my comfort zone. So these 6 shades here were the ones selected by the generator. So in selecting the 3 shades of my choice, I had to kind of look at what I had. I felt like these 2 would work fairly well as deepening shades, so I didn't feel I needed to bring in one of those. I also felt that using them with a light hand, I could probably get a transition shade out of them. So again, I didn't feel like I needed to bring in any other mattes. I don't do a lot of just matte looks. I really like to layer my shimmers, so I felt like my needs in terms of mattes were met. And then with this one here, it's kind of a lighter matte, so I felt like I could get some nice light looks with that. So again, I didn't feel like I needed to bring in any more. Now the next thing I usually like to have in my palette is an inner corner highlight shade, and this is one that you would think would work as an inner corner highlight, but because it's so glittery and I find it really is best as a topper, I didn't think that that was going to work well for my purpose. I do think that this green here will work as an inner corner, but I wanted something a little bit lighter because I don't always like to have a darker color in my inner corner, and so that's why I selected this one. I felt that the kind of pinky tone of it would be a nice complement to the green shades, but also because of this color here that was pulled, I figured it would go well with that. So if I wanted to use, say this, if I wanted to do a neutral look, use this as my transition, this on the lid, I felt like this would complement it well. So this is the first one that I chose out of my 3 selections. The next 2 I really was kind of stumped on. Like I said, I went through the mattes. I didn't feel like I needed to bring in another matte. I couldn't really figure out what I wanted to bring in that would offer some versatility and just, you know, to have a little fun with. The next shade I decided on was this one here because it is that kind of warm base but with a green flip. I thought it might be nice to combine with that one. I thought I could combine it with that very nicely. It might go with the green here. I could do it with these 2. I just felt like I could kind of use that with the different shades. It might even go well with that kind of teal matte. So I felt pretty happy bringing this one in, and then I needed that last spot filled, and it took me a little while to figure out this one too, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to bring in some contrasting colors. Like, did I want to stay with this kind of brown green color story? And there just weren't any other colors that I felt were going to combine with this in a way that I liked with the original 6 shades. So finally I decided on this one here. It's got a strong brown base with a kind of a blue tealish flip, and I thought this might combine nicely with the teal matte. I also thought it might work well with the olive matte. I think it would go well with this one here. I might have fun with the mint because it's kind of got that teal flip. I think it might look nice with those 2 combined. So I think overall I'm pretty happy with this color story, and it's going to be fun to play with. I apologize for the sunlight here. I just realized that the sun's come out, and yeah, the palette's kind of getting cast over, but you know what? We're just talking about the colors, so I think that's fine, and I'm almost done. I'm almost ready to wrap this up. So this is the palette that I'm going to be working with for the next round. As usual, I will be posting a picture at the end of the palette with all the names and the shade names in case you're curious about any of these or in case you want to play along. But I think that is it for this video. I'm going to go off. I'm going to see what I can do with these, and then I will be back in a future video to show you what I've created. So as usual, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you have a fabulous day, and I will see you in the next one.